weekdays on CBS Radio, YouTube Live, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. The Armchair Quarterback Show, your first choice for Southern sports talk. Good morning, Mr. Sean O'Toole.
Good morning, Mac McGee. And when discussing the matter of spider tack and all the things that we'd like to have happen, I agree with Pedro Martinez. I like to be in control of who's putting what on my balls too. There we go.
Oy vey. Hi, I'm Mac McGee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. I think old GLASNOW'S got a he's got a point. We're gonna debate it. Normally I try to come up with something funny, and normally I would throw this to the side, but I think the man's got a point. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks.
I cannot believe they're letting her just use them like that. I mean, anything she wants, they go panting after her like trained dogs. You know that just last week she had Howard drive all the way to her uncle's house in Orange County to pick up her TV?
You want Ted Leonard and me get your television from your ex-boyfriend?
Apples and oranges here, Sheldon. I'm telling you, that girl is a user, skating through life on her looks, taking advantage of innocent, weak-willed men, getting auditions for stupid network shows. It just creams my corn.
May I interject something here?
Please.
You got the wrong mustard.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man. With a cool one in his hand.
Hey, howdy, hi. Top of the morning to you. Welcome to the Armchair Quarterback Radio Show. Mac McGee and Sean O'Toole. Sean, how the hell are you this morning, sir?
I'm having a wonderful day. It was not my best night of hockey. I'm pulling for the Islanders, not just for you, but because I like chaos.
What about that fight at the end? Did you see the fight?
The fight at the end was really something, and
wow.
I turned it off once the decision seemed to be rendered to go over to the Nets-Bucks game, and boy, was that a religious experience. I'm sure we'll get to that later. Holy moly. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, that fight was insane. We're going to get into hockey here in a little bit, but before we do, I do want to play the GLASNOW clip that kind of defines where he's coming from. So let me go ahead and hit that for you as I kill the batting practice music.
Tyler, you were pretty frustrated about the ball last night. Just any more thought as to whether that may have kind of played a part in any of this, or has that kind of entered your mind yet?
Convenient and but I 100% believe that contributed to me getting hurt. No doubt, without a doubt. I think it's ridiculous. I have used sticky stuff before. It's ridiculous that it seems like this whole public perception of it's just select few people. Your favorite pitcher probably 50 years ago was using something too. If you felt these balls, how inconsistent they were, you have to use something. So in the past, my substance of choice is sunscreen and rosin. Just nothing egregious, something to where I can get a grip on the ball so it doesn't feel dusty. But 2 starts ago against the Nationals, I went cold turkey, nothing. And before that start, I remember when all this stuff came out, I was talking to people and talking to doctors, and they were like, the thing that maybe MLB doesn't realize or that players don't realize is what is the injury? What is the prevention of maybe it'll add to injuries? And in my mind, I was like, that sounds dumb. That sounds like an excuse a player would use to make sure he can use sticky stuff. But I threw to the Nationals with nothing. I don't use sticky stuff. I don't use spider tack. I don't need more spin. I have huge hands. I spin the ball fine. I want grip. I did well against the Nationals, probably one of the best starts I had all year. I woke up the next day and was like, I am sore in places that I didn't even know I had muscles in. I felt completely different. I switched my fastball grip and my curveball grip. I've thrown it the same way for however many years I played baseball. I had to put my fastball deeper into my hand and grip it way harder. And I had to, instead of holding my curveball at the tip of my fingers, I had to dig it deeper into my hand. So I'm choking the out of all my pitches. My cue I used to use with Snyder was hold the ball like an egg, nice and loose, be loose. That's out of the window. So I now have to develop a new cue. I have to develop something where I can't hold the ball light anymore. I have to dig it deep into my hand. So I'm taking it, and you have to think, I'm not a doctor. I know you guys probably know that. But I'm taking a fastball. I'm squeezing the ball twice as hard. So all of this is I'm recruiting all these muscles, and I'm taking my arm as hard as I can, throwing the ball. So I'm going from a flexed muscle to letting a ball go. And like I said, I was like, maybe it's not going to, I don't think it'll lead to any injuries. But waking up after that start, I was like, okay, this sucks. Something is weird here. And then that same feeling is persisting all week long. Then I go into my start yesterday and that same feeling just, it pops or whatever the hell happened to my elbow. Like I feel it. Something happens.
Okay. So with that being said, Sean, I think he's got a point. And when I first saw the headline, I was like, what is this guy talking about? You know, I look, in full disclosure, I'm a Tampa Bay Rays fan. I pull for the Braves, I pull for the Rays. So I had to take my fan hat off for a second when I first read the article because I was like, what is this idiot? And I was fully prepared to make fun of his statement. And then I listened, and later on, we'll share it. It's like an 8 or 9 minute total interview, but I basically took the best parts of it in the sports flash at the beginning of the show and then this. And it's insane and I thought it was weird to begin with. About a week or so ago, I mentioned this, like they're changing the rules in the middle of the season. That's a little weird, right? Well, I don't have a problem with them cracking down on it, but to do it in the middle of the season, this is freaking Rob Manfred's incompetent ass at work once again. Because you've already got one guy injured, okay, that we know of. And more is to come, I guarantee it. And you're playing with these guys' livelihood. And this guy's he's choosing not to go for surgery because they're saying essentially through rehab, he could be back hopefully by August, September-ish. If you're in fantasy baseball, it's a wrap. Okay. He's done. But as far as real baseball, if the Rays can find a way to make the playoffs without him, which would not shock me because the Rays always find a way, they'll bullpen their way into the playoffs. But with all that being said, it's stupid to change the rules in the middle of the season. It would literally be like doing, like if you did this in football and all of a sudden in week 9, you said, we're not going to play with helmets, right? Wait, what? Well, we're going to give you 10 days to figure it out. But look, by next Thursday, we're going to play without helmets. Okay. All right. See you then. And the guys want to continue to get played. They go, okay. Right. So that's essentially what they're doing. They're changing the way you play, the way you perform, the way you prepare. And he tried to do it on the fly. And look, when he woke up the next day after the Washington deal, I would have said to my trainers, hey guys, I don't feel right. I feel tired.
Right.
But he seems like I followed Glasnow for a while. And he's kind of a tough nut. Right. And I think he was just going to persevere through it because he knew they were playing the White Sox. It's a big series. Right. He goes out there and he hurts himself. Hindsight's 2020. He should have taken that start off and seen why he's hurting. Is there structural damage, that kind of thing, right? But basically what he's telling people is that as opposed to throwing the ball like this, because he has monstrous hands, because he's a big guy, and just kind of almost like an egg, just loosely throwing it. He's got it deep in his hand like this so he can control it so he doesn't, take someone's head off. And that's putting stress down here is essential. I watched a couple of videos. That's the short of it. Okay. And so it makes a lot of sense because you're talking about not one throw. You're talking about 100 pitches, not to mention your warm-ups. When a guy goes out and does a start in a Major League Baseball game today, he's throwing damn near 200 balls, okay? And that's going to have an effect if you're going to change the way you throw because you're worried about losing. And I said this at the beginning of the season, if they're going to have something to control the ball so that it doesn't slip, make one thing universal and be done with it. Say, look, spider tack, okay, that's what you want to use, but if you're saying that gives you too much advantage, I get that. I haven't done the research. I don't know which one would be the best, but there's got to be one. And the funny thing is, he mentioned it. Bauer mentioned this a few years ago. It seems like sunscreen and rosin is a common one. Why the hell not just make that? Why not just put a little bit of sunscreen on, and the rosin's already on the field anyways, because you're talking about mixing it with what do you call it? The dirt that's actually on
dirt on the mound.
Right. So that's why they're using the rosin bag, because it's got the dust on there. And all they're doing is what they're saying is, if I don't have a little bit of stick to this, that ball is incredibly slippery and I throw 100 miles an hour, I could kill somebody. That's all they're really saying. What say you? And rant.
Yeah, his points are very cogent. And for Rays fans, I heard a few people yesterday say, well, he'll be back. Maybe he can rehab. Look, Masahiro Tanaka had the same thing and decided never to get Tommy John, and he never got that 4 to 5 miles an hour back. And that was 6, 7, 8 years ago. So his points are awesome. You and I are, we don't need to relitigate how we feel about Manfred. He's a buffoon. And everything he does is so reactionary and so ill-intended and just so blind that I don't know even what to say about him anymore. And
he never thinks about the consequences.
This is just example number like 4,000.
Is he not an adult? Does he not understand that there are consequences to his actions?
I just think he's a puppet. I think
this
all
is
the
the All-Star game all over again. He makes a terrible decision at the drop of a hat, and then he finds out later, oh, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't have done that because there's voting laws around the country a lot more stringent than what Georgia just passed, right?
Right.
It's just all over again. It's like you said, he's reactionary. He's knee-jerk reactionary. He doesn't even react after he gives himself a chance to think about it. He just goes, oh yeah, that's fine. And that's what you get when you get a commissioner in a major sport who never played the damn game.
Or I won't go that far, but who has no investment or previous experience in the game. The last commissioner who had previous experience or had worked for a club, and I'm not counting old Bud because Bud was an owner, was St. Vincent. And the owners coup d'etat him and cut his throat when his back was turned. And we haven't had a competent commissioner since. Bud was not competent. I don't want to hear it. Selig was a moron. And this guy is just a lawyer who listens to his PR team, which is in some ways even worse than what Bud was.
But Selig was better than Manfred. That's the fun thing about
that's not an argument. Yeah.
Because the one thing I'll give to Selig is he was smart enough to realize you need to give us a reason to watch the All-Star game. And so and that was a good idea. Manfred took it away. That's a bad idea. That's one of many terrible ideas this guy's had. He's just moron after moron after moron after moron. And it's just dude, is this guy, look, is there something wrong with him? Are we allowed to even make fun of his intelligence? That's what I'm starting to worry about, that maybe I'm going to look bad down the road when they're like, dude, this guy was short bus city when he was a kid. And they put him in there because they felt bad for him.
He was a lawyer. He's not
kind
short bus. He's just misguided.
What kind of
horribly misguided?
Was he an ambulance chaser? And what the hell kind of lawyer are we talking about?
Yeah, he might have been Bart.
Feeling his picture was on the side of a park bench at some point. I guarantee it. Or on the side of a bus.
Yeah, he might have been Morgan and Morgan. But yeah, you made a good point. Glasnow's just going to be the first. I mean, I've seen lots of evidence about spider tack, and that stuff's nuts. I've seen pictures of people with spider tack on their fingers, just holding the ball with their fingers upside down. When the ball's not, gravity's not doing its thing.
I would like to see his record. Did he ever win one case in court? And if so, I'd like to talk to that idiot.
I'm sure you can Wikipedia it.
It's do me a favor and see because whoever he beat in court probably can't put the square peg in the square hole, right? It's because how is this guy? It's bad one after another. Oh, it's just a piece of metal,
right?
It's one after. I just fire his ass yesterday. His ass should be fired, and now that he's caused someone injury, I would sue his ass. I would sue him if I were Glasnow. This could affect. What if he never recovers from this and he never gets that big payday, right?
He was never getting it from the Rays anyways, is the joke.
He was getting it from somebody.
Right, he was getting it from somebody.
David Price got $217 million. If that worthless piece of junk can get 217, then I guarantee you Glasnow was headed for 250 plus.
Yeah, if David Price can get 217 from the Red Sox with a bum shoulder, that was bum when they gave it to him.
Glasnow could get 250 plus from the Yankees, from the Mets, etc.
Absolutely, I agree wholeheartedly.
Oh, terrible. All right, we'll move on. Speaking of just pissed off, let's go ahead and hit the panic button on the Braves. I'm ready to break that team up. I'm ready to say to hell with this. This season is crap, because the only way they're going to get back into this is to play incredibly hot baseball. And how are they going to do that when they can never when their offense is alive like it was last night, the pitching doesn't show up. And of course, Davidson getting hurt is not helping things, but he wasn't pitching a great game before he got hurt anyways. So if it's not that, then they'll go out and they'll get a good start tonight from Morton, and they won't be able to hit their way out of a wet paper bag. And it all comes down to two major things. Soroka never came back, and Ozuna is never going to play the rest of the season.
Right.
He was the cog in that engine. We all knew this offense would be very questionable without him. So when he was a free agent, that's why everyone was wanting to sign him. Now, I had a couple other people that I wanted over him, but I wasn't totally pissed off when they signed him. So I was fine.
Right.
With it. I was fine with it. Nobody knew that he was going to be involved in domestic dispute, because the last thing we'd heard about it was his wife that was beating him up. So,
right.
I guess eventually, you could hear a pin drop when Tommy stopped to lock the door. I'm getting tired of getting my ass kicked, okay? And I got a broken hand. Anyways, all jokes aside, so that eliminates them, I think, for any kind of contention, because you're not going to make a wild card, because the wild card's coming from the West. If it's not coming from the West, it's going to be someone in the Central that gets incredibly hot.
Seems like it.
I say they're sellers. I say get rid of Smiley and save some money there at the break. If anyone will take him, get rid of him. I think you're probably stuck with him, but maybe someone wants him in the back of the bullpen, or in the front of the bullpen, so to speak. Get rid of Charlie Morton. He's not doing a damn thing for us. He's supposed to be the stopper. He's got a
nice postseason history, so you can probably get, whatever.
I can think of a team that just lost a pitcher that did pretty well with him on the mound. Maybe ship his ass back to Tampa. I say trade his ass. You can probably ride the wave. I hate to lose him because he's great for the fans, but you can probably, that's the one they'll probably keep just because he's great for the fans, the Panda. But he's a great pinch hitter off the bench, so I could see him getting moved. I hate to see it because I enjoy him, but look, go build up your freaking your minor league system at this point, so that next year, if you make a run, you've got something to trade. Any other guys that you're ready to launch off this team? Will Smith. Will someone take Will Smith's contract? He still has 1 year left with 13 or 14 million on it. Will someone take that junk away from us? Bye-bye.
Yeah, there's the the only contract.
Shane Green, Chris Martin, let's just tank.
The only contract that's worse than Smiley's is probably Ender's, and I don't think you can get anybody to take Ender off your hands either. So I am not as in big of
getting Drew Smiley and Ender CRT off your roster without some kind of sexual favor.
No, probably.
It's just not going to happen. Like, oh, seriously, those two combined make like almost $20 million this year. Blech.
I will play devil's advocate in this sense only. They are 6.5 out, which is not great. I'm still not a big believer that the Mets are for real, and Philadelphia's looked incredibly suspect. And this stat really, really caught me off guard when I saw it last night. They're 0-10 in games tied at the 7th inning. So last night was an example. It was 7-7 in the 7th. They lost. They're 0-10. 0-10. So if the back end of the bullpen guys just show a little bit of improvement, you get back. Maybe not all is lost, but time's inching up, because you get to the All-Star break and you're still 6, 7, 8 out. Like you said, now it's time to sell. I'm curious to see if they do offload some pieces. Do they bring up Kyle Muller, who's been setting Leonard on fire? Do they see what they have in Waters and just give him some at-bats with the big club in September when the rosters expand, just to see what they've got? That would be a curiosity to me. But yeah, it really feels like one of those seasons from AT double hockey sticks where just everything goes wrong and you just got to pack it in and regroup for next year.
Anybody that, and I know they'll wait in a few weeks, but anybody that is not in on a contract for the end of this year, get rid of them. And if you can get someone to take Will Smith, I don't think you will, but if you can, get rid of him too. Maybe the Yankees think that they can use an extra bullpen piece. Maybe maybe the Yankees want Charlie Moore, and I don't care. Get rid of him because they're not doing anything. And I'd rather see the young kids come up and falter. And look, that would re-energize me as a fan because I could watch them lose if I know it's a young guy. It's a 38-year-old guy out there who can't find the strike zone and can't get through 5 innings. I'm like, this is not a process, okay? He has been processed. And if you look at the big picture, okay, 6.5 out, I get that. They're 9 games out in the loss column.
Yeah,
9 games. True. There's only 100 games left, or a little less than 100 games. So you literally would have to go out. Let's say the Braves could somehow go, we'll call it an even 100. Let's say you really think they could go 60-40 down the stretch. Atlanta.
I don't think they can, but let's argue and say they could.
Okay, then you have to hope that the Mets only play 500 ball. But I think the Braves are more likely to play 500 ball. So you're betting on the Mets going 40-60 down the stretch. Wow, dude.
I don't see that.
I just don't. They've got too much pitching to keep them relevant. And the Phillies, I'm not worried about the Phillies. What's sad about this is here come the Nationals. They've won 3 in a row.
Here they go.
And they're about to leap.
Here we go.
So anyways, let's go ahead and do some DFS and get our picks in the game. We got to do it real quick because we got to run to break. What is your skin in the game pick today?
So my skin in the game pick today is the Hawks to cover the 6.5. I've got them at 6.5 as a dog at Philadelphia for game 5 tonight. That series is tied at 2. Atlanta looks very frisky and up to the challenge in the last game at home. And they seem to have figured something out with how to defend the Sixers. Basically, just pack it in and say, look, Embiid's going to get his 35. We're not going to try and spend too much time worrying about what happens with Embiid. We'll prevent him from scoring when we can. It's all the other people that we can't let get off. You know, we can't let Seth Curry kill us for 27 like he did the other night. We can't let Tobias Harris get cooking like he did the other night. And I think they've got a plan of attack. I'm not sure that the Hawks can win this series, but hey, now it's the best out of 3. And even though 2 of those 3 games are in Philly, and Philly's been amazing at home this year, you only need to get 1. You only need to get 1 out of 2. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think Atlanta covers the 6.5.
It's good to hear you talk good things about Atlanta, even though it's the wrong sport. It still sounds good in my ears. I'm on Atlanta Braves. Get frisky. I'm going to go with Major League Baseball like I always do because I don't trust other sports until football season gets here. And I am going to go a little bit off the beaten path. And we always say that we won't take a pick that's over minus 200. And we rarely take one over minus 150. The one that I like today is going to surprise you a little bit. It's minus 150 on the plus 1.5 line. Detroit Tigers Skubal is getting 1.5 against Brady Singer, who struggled mightily. They're in Kansas City, so they're getting the 1.5. I think this line is incorrect. I think that this should be more closer to a pick 'em. I almost want to take Detroit plus the 128 to win, but I'm going to go ahead and just get that extra 1.5 to cover my butt, so to speak, so that if there's some crazy walk off or something. But I think Skubal's a decent pick, and it should be a good game. We'll do DFS on the other side of the break, and then we'll get into what we're going to talk about, which is related to that. We also got the NBA, the NHL to talk about. We'll be back in a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks. Keep it locked in here on CBS Sports Radio. We're at the top of the hour, so it's going to be a little shorter break than normal. Here we go.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Is that Shakespeare?
Nope, it's Geico.
Yeah, that's Shakespeare from one of his unpublished works. Oh, it be not for awakening. Nay, giveth thou the berries. For 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
No, it's from Geico, because they help save people money.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Geico got it from Shakespeare.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're watching the Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Subscribe and like us today. Your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
We live in a world now that welcomes and nurtures the screwball in all of us. Hey, it's a new decade, people. Time to get a little nutty. Treat yourself to Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey, a smooth flavor that combines two of America's favorites, peanut butter and American whiskey. So no more social awkwardness. Time to embrace who you truly are. Get out there and make friends. And be sure it starts with Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. It's available nearly everywhere. Learn more at screwballwhiskey.com. Infinium Spirits. Please enjoy responsibly.
Take the road less traveled in the newly redesigned Hyundai Santa Fe. With available H-Track all-wheel drive to help you get off the beaten path a little further together. And intuitive safety features that can help you see what's waiting around the bend. Plus, with generous room for 5 and comfortable available Napa leather seating, you can go for more drives as a family without driving each other crazy. Find new adventures together in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
I did pretty good, right? I should have gone to law school or high school.
Good morning. Welcome back here to CBS Sports. And, of course, YouTube Live, the Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share the show. We've got a lot of content right now. We're adding more to it come this fall. Sean and Steven do a fantasy baseball analytics show on Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central. The payoff pitch, where they kind of break down. So we're going to do this Saturday because I got to hear his defense of this, I think, terrible trade that went down. Blake Snell. I mean, Blake Snell's the kicker in this one, right? So he gets Zach Wheeler and he gets Blake Snell, but he gives up Yu Darvish and Garrett Cole. Sean, I kind of gave my take on this the other day, but what say you? Because I think this is overreacting to the whole MLB rules angle.
Yeah, it's possible. I would never like trading Darvish, especially in that park, and with all the matchups he has left against Colorado and Arizona, who, Arizona is about to sell everything that is bolted to the floor in the next 4 weeks. So that's going to be an even easier matchup going forward. I didn't understand it when I saw it, aside from the fact that I know how Steven feels personally about Zach Wheeler, that $100 league we're in. He's tried to send me a few offers for Wheeler for prospects, and I've just been like, you're going to have to offer a lot more than, a couple of prospects for Wheeler, because Wheeler's a top 7 pitcher this year, maybe even top 5.
You might be able to rape him though, because Michael raped him. So you might want to think about a way to rape him with that, because I'm telling you right now, that was a trade rape.
Yeah, I don't understand doing it. I wouldn't personally do it unless he's seen something in Snell's advanced numbers that make him indicate that Snell's likely to turn it around. I've watched Snell pitch this year, and he's not now that he's out of Tampa and he doesn't have Kevin Cash and that brain trust, calling games for him. He's just throwing fastballs, down the middle of the plate. He's just throwing as hard as he can.
He's going to be facing the Dodgers and Giants all
right. Dodgers and Giants all the rest of the year. Yep.
Not to mention that guy's not going to play well in Colorado on the road. I can tell you that, right? Especially when it warms up a little bit. When it warms up in Colorado a little bit, ooh, woof.
Right, and he's got some tough starts ahead, and his no regrets tattoo, and what I'm saying, ain't gonna work out for him as we get into the summer months. So
the only way this works out for him is something very lucky, like Yu Darvish tears his ACL coming out of the shower, right?
Right.
Like I said, only an injury is going to justify, well, I'm glad I got rid of him. Yeah, but at the point that you made the trade, there was no injury.
Right. That's revisionist history. Yeah, you can't do that.
But it'll be interesting to talk about that Saturday, because I got to hear his take on why he thought. Look, at the end, when it's all said and done, it's your team. You should have fun with it. And you should get whoever the hell you want to get. I'm a full believer in that. But when you're ranked number one in the division, and those guys probably have a lot to do with why you're number one, you're going to have to sell me on this. You're going to have to sell me on this, because in that league, he's one. Michael is two Michael is three who got that trade. I'm sitting in between at two going, what the hell is going on around here? Well, I guess it's going to be you and me, Michael, at the end, because for some reason, Steven's and this is not a keeper league, by the way, for anyone that was thinking, well, I'd rather
single season.
Right. Yeah. This isn't like I think Snell turn around next year or whatever. So it's an interesting thing. And to that point, Steven has scored more points than Michael, barely. So his 8-2 record can be poked at a little bit, but he has scored more points than Michael. So once again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's why I always go with, like, nah, man, I'm good, dude. I'm gonna sit over here with Garrett Cole, the best pitcher in the American League, and I think I'm gonna hold on to old Yu Darvish, who could arguably be called the best pitcher on the West Coast this year. And I'll go from there. I'm not going to take a risk that Blake Snell may turn it around, as he's facing Mookie Betts all year long. Oh, no, thank you. All right, we'll move on from that. Real quick, DFS, what do you like today?
Yeah, not to flip flop too much on the Braves, but I was really encouraged by Ian Anderson's last start. He got really hosed by the Braves just not being able to do anything against Zach Wheeler. This matchup is a lot more promising because Garrett Richards is this isn't Garrett Richards from 5 years ago. This is 2021 Garrett Richards, and last time the Braves saw him, they hit him pretty well and got on the scoreboard against him early. So I like Ian Anderson, very promising last start. And also a stat I didn't realize, he is, I saw this somewhere, he's 3-0, but he should really be 5-0, I think, coming off Braves losses. So he seemed to be kind of like a calming, start when he's come out after the Braves have had a loss, especially a loss like yesterday where they kept coming back, the bats were alive, and the pitching just couldn't hold up. I would be shocked to see, Ian go 7, strike out 5 or 6, maybe give up 2 runs or less. And he's a lot more affordably priced than the top of the market. He's only 7,500 today. He's below Savali, Wheeler, and Kershaw all. So that's a good way to save some money. Ian Anderson.
Well, I'll say this about Ian Anderson facing that Boston Red Sox offense. I hope he gets that out of the 4th inning because he tends to, when things go bad, they unravel for him really quickly. And when he's pitching well, he does great, like he did against Philly. But then the start before that at home against the Dodgers, he couldn't get out of the 4th inning or out of the 5th inning. He went 4 and a third, and that's typical of him in those big situations. It happened a couple times this year. It's only against the elite offenses, and that's what would concern me. But when it all comes down with the Anderson, if he keeps the ball down, because he is he's not like most of the other pitchers here in 2021 who lives up in the strike zone. He will play up and down, but he typically likes to get down because he actually throws a traditional over the head throw or delivery, and that's going to be the key. That's a little risky for me. As much as I hope you're right, I hope the hell you're right as hell, because up there and this begins the facelift of the American Brave of the Atlanta Braves. Crap. Chris Paul's out indefinitely because of COVID-19.
Yeah, I saw that.
I just saw it was breaking news. It just came across the bottom line. All right. Well, that's okay, because he'll probably be okay by the time that series is over with.
That could just be an announcement that says, he's in the protocol. They could clear him in 7 days. And if Clippers Jazz goes 6 or 7.
Right. What are you doing? If you don't have the vaccine and you're in the NBA playoffs, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, we don't want to have that conversation again. I don't know which.
I'm just saying, get your head out of your ass. You're putting your team at risk. You're
right. Even down here in Nashville. I mean, the Titans are like, if you're not vaccinated, we're gonna make you go stand over in the tent with a dunce cap on your head and work out with those guys. Like, quit being a moron.
It's not worth it. You just because you're trying to get work done. I don't want to shut down practice if you're a football team, but in the NBA where you might have a little bit of contact,
right?
No, you go get it. If you don't go get it, I'm just gonna give it to you. I'm just gonna walk by and jab you. CIH style. Hey, so right here when look, when Giannis gets the ball and down in the paint. What is that? Okay, so all right.
You're good.
I'm just joking. The Bucks ain't making the finals. All right. All right, Chris. We'll see you in about a week. The hell's going on around here? Okay. If I was gonna take a flyer on a guy tonight, obviously the late flight. I think I would go Greinke 7,400 at home against Texas. I think that would be the bang for my buck.
Texas scares me because they can bop, but yeah, that's not a bad one.
It's just I'm looking at the price range. I trust Greinke's against Texas over Anderson versus Boston. Boston's offense just rakes. I mean, it's ridiculous at this point.
Sure can.
Or you can go nutso and go DeGrom because he's going to shut out the Cubs. The Cubs are terrible. They're a fraud. They're playing in a weak ass division that swept out the Cardinals. Okay, but DeGrom's going to carve through them. They couldn't get the ball. They couldn't get a stick on Taijuan Walker or David Peterson the last two nights. You think they're going to have a shot in hell against DeGrom? DeGrom should be 38,000, not 11,000 on DFS. What are we talking about here? That's the equivalent of getting like I don't know, Derrick Henry in the 4th round of your NFL draft this year.
Right.
Wait a minute, what happened? Was there a computer glitch? Can y'all see what I see? Because I'm going to draft this guy. All right.
For my third backup, I'm taking Josh Allen. Who are you playing in this league with? What's the matter with you?
NHL playoffs, great game last night. We talked about it a little bit, especially the fight at the end. I can't wait for the next game because there's going to be some residuals after that. But tonight, you've got Montreal at Vegas. I feel like they were shell-shocked, playing in front of humans for the first time in 15 months. So this is going to be an interesting game tonight to see how they react. Are they a fraud? Because they've played in Canada all year long against nothing but Canadian teams, and nothing against Canadian teams. But the thing is, you don't know how good those teams were because they played no one else, right? So this is put up or shut up time for Montreal, don't you think?
It is, and it's kind of a running internet joke that that division was probably very suspect. I mean, there's a reason no Canadian teams won the Stanley Cup since Montreal in '93, and the only one that's played for it was I think the Vancouver team. That played against the Bruins. When Big Z held it up, that would be 2011 or 2012 kind of territory. So that is the going theory, is that maybe that division was just completely fraudulent, and playing in front of fans would be a real shell shock for them. The thing that I had worried about coming into the series came to fruition in game one, which is just that Vegas is so fast and they're so deep and they're so skilled, and Montreal's kind of gotten here off of heart and guile and just being a very deep team with professional players, but they haven't faced this kind of a juggernaut. Even the Maple Leafs have 6 guys that are very, very good, 4 that are elite, and one of them, John Tavares, got his brain knocked out of his skull 7 minutes into game one. So I think that, that Vegas is going to roll them. I've said that since the matchups were announced. I hope that's not the case. It would be nice to see a Canadian team play for the Stanley Cup, especially this year. But Vegas feels like, especially after dispatching Colorado as easily as they did in 4 straight, Vegas just feels like they're a snowball moving downhill and they're headed towards the final.
I think a lot of it. Look, I say this a lot when people say, "Well, game 2 is not do or die," and I get that because you can go home and you can you could hold serve as well. And maybe going over the border will have some kind of effect on Vegas, because they haven't had to go through those protocols, right? So anyways, my point is, if you lose this one, you got to beat Vegas 4 out of the next 5 games. And that just doesn't seem logical, right?
Nope.
So that's why I honestly think it is a do or die game. I guess that's a little strong, but if you don't do, it's a do or deathbed game. If you don't do, you're on your deathbed, because then you go home and that is a do or die game.
Yep.
And if you lose that, you just say, screw it, we're going to throw game 4 because I'm not going back across the border. I have to go through all that junk again. We're just going to lose. So, eventually someone goes, I got a tea time next week. I'm not doing this, man. Come on. Let's just go there and knock the snot out of one of them and get ejected. NBA tonight. This Atlanta-Philadelphia series gets really tasty. And you talked about it, taking Atlanta. What did you say, 6.5? The dogs. I like that too, because I think this is going to be a dogfight. And Philadelphia, I'm starting to get a little concerned when Embiid goes 0 for 12 in the second half, that his injury might be rearing its ugly head, because typically when you have that bad of a second half, it's because of fatigue, right? And he could be wearing down. He could have just had a bad night, but 0 for 12 for a guy who's not a long distance shooter, that's a really bad night. I mean, that's like not hitting water falling out of a boat bad night. So I'm starting to think that this is a do or die game for Philly, because if they lose this, I don't think they go back to Atlanta and extend the series. I think they have to win this, and Atlanta's in this for the long haul.
Yep.
They have to win this, because they might very well have to win it on their own floor, meaning it's a 3-game series at this point, and they get 2 of the games, and that's all fine and dandy, but you don't want to lose this. Do you see any?
Yeah.
Do you see any scenario where Philly could lose this game and then still win the series? Because I don't think they can beat Atlanta back to back.
No, there's no scenario where they lose this game tonight and I don't think they could then win 2 in a row. This is a game that Philly needs to wrap up. Now, the thing that's going for them and going against Atlanta.
Here's another one. Breaking news. You ready for this one?
Sure.
Kawhi Leonard very well will miss the remainder of the Western Conference semifinals. Knee injury.
Yowzers. That series is over.
I guess I jinxed him. I guess he did the whole I guess he's the one that slipped in the shower as opposed to you. I knew it was going to happen somewhere in Southern California. But it's a wrap. Playoff P is going to Utah tonight. Let's go, baby. Oh, if you're a Clippers fan, you're like,
Pandemic P.
Putsy P. It's a wrap.
That's over. Jazz Suns, Western Finals.
So when Utah gets to the finals, because he doesn't have a knee and the Suns don't have Chris Paul, when Utah gets to the finals, is there any scenario where it's not the Nets? Because what about that game last night?
There is still a scenario where it's not the Nets, because what Kevin Durant did last night was I mean, that was it really was a religious experience. I mean, that was just like watching art, watching somebody paint the Sistine Chapel. But I don't know if he could do that again in Milwaukee. And Harden is playing on half a leg. Kyrie, that ankle roll was bad. I mean, I've seen some bad ankle rolls, but that's the toes turned up.
Yeah,
the ankle was turned over. I was like, where?
I don't know if they need that putts. I think if they have Harden and KP, they're going to be fine, because
I agree.
Those two are just that good, and they've got a decent supporting cast. It gets overlooked, but they've got a decent supporting cast. It's going to get even better this offseason, because there'll be people running to go play for the Nets.
Yep.
But when the Bucks got up, I was like, all right, This is where you prove who you are.
Yep. Keep them down.
And that was originally going to be my I don't know much, because I don't know much, but I know one thing, Sean. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a regular season hero, and that's where it ends. He does not step up in the big moments in the playoffs. He does not put his team on his back like KD does. The guy's got all the talent in the world, but he has to break through that glass ceiling and say, get on my back, you sons of, because it's ready to roll.
Right.
And he doesn't seem like he has that. I know he works out. I know he's dedicated, because he wouldn't even do the movie with LeBron, probably because A, it's going to suck, and then B, he mentioned that he didn't want to record over the summer because he wanted to focus on improving his game, right? But, dude, you have the playoffs in your hand. You were up. Hell, the Nets scored 15 points in the first quarter, and then you let them outscore you 71-49 in the second half.
Yep.
If you just get outscored by 15 points, you win the game.
It's one of my favorite sports phrases of all time. I heard it from, I think, like my little league coach or something. It's an old adage. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. Doesn't matter if you were up 17 at halftime. You lost the game. And I agree with you about Giannis. He is a very skilled player. He is a 2-time MVP. This is not a guy who's a chump. But there's a playbook for how to defend him. Force him to take jump shots, force him to take 3-pointers. If he makes them, you can live with yourself. But don't let him drive to the basket. Don't let him dunk in your mouth. That seems to be the Nets' plan. It's basically, hey, we're going to let anybody other than this guy dunk our heads through the basket to beat us. And the rest of the team, quite frankly, isn't very good. Chris Middleton's an all-star. He's a nice shooter, but Jrue Holiday, Brooke Lopez, they really miss Dante DiVincenzo, Pat Connaughton. Some of these other guys they have are just, they're just replacement level players. And, you're not going to get to the finals or to the Eastern Conference Finals with that kind of a layout. It seems to be lining up for Jazz, Suns, and Sixers, Nets, which I didn't think we'd have a chalk finals in both conferences, but it looks like we're going to get 1 versus 2 and 1 versus 2, as it were.
I'm still believing in the Hawks, man. I'm actually excited for this game tonight. I can't say that about the NBA very recently, but I'm excited for this game tonight. I'm pulling for Trae Young. I want to see how pissed would the New York City, New York be if Trae Young knocks out the Nets too.
Brr.
Brr. Shut up. That would be awesome. I'm just eating it. That is awesome. That's awesome. I'm not even that big of a Trae Young fan, but it's entertaining to me. Utah, I want to see Utah make it because I want to see a good series in that Jazz Sun. I believe that Chris Paul COVID thing is just protocols. So it doesn't seem like he tested positive. They're just flipping out because they're like, look, we're not playing. Don't come to the stadium, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Yeah. Don't make anybody else.
But in the meantime, get your stupid jabs, you moron.
Right. Jab it up, dummy.
Good Lord. And get the Pfizer jab. It's definitely by far the best one. Which one did you get?
Moderna. That's what was available locally.
I thought that's what you got. That's why I said that.
I wasn't given a choice. It wasn't like, it wasn't like the regular, kicks or the great value kicks. I was told what I was getting. I was like, okay, works for me.
I'm a Pfizer snob, man. If you didn't get the Pfizer jab, you didn't get a real jab.
That's the new separating line for all people for you. It's what brand of jab you got.
Pfizer people over here, Moderna here, and J&J, you get way the hell over there.
Yeah, J&J, go away. Get away from me.
One shot my butt. Okay.
That didn't work out.
You take that placebo and get away from me, okay? By the way, so you always lose take your video off when we go to break. Are you Jeffrey tubing us over here?
No, just drinking coffee. Sometimes I get up and walk around.
Well, you forgot to take it off when you were filing your nails.
Yes, I did.
We got a big laugh out of that one. Brian said that your man card was revoked. It's like, and I said that was a long time ago. That thing was revoked.
That was you don't know me very well. He can tell you, my man. I don't know that I ever actually had a man card since I was like 22. We're good.
I think I revoked that around 97, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, somewhere in that neighborhood. That sounds about right.
All right, let's go ahead and turn back time and get the hell on out of here. As man, I'll tell you what. So that's two big stories that broke today. There's gonna be a third one. Be careful.
These things they always come in threes.
Pay
Watch
attention to
out.
your fantasy baseball lineup, y'all. Something bad's about to happen. You better get on you better be checking that thing at 6:59 Eastern tonight. But, all right. Who is it? Who is it that tested positive for leprosy? Who is it? Okay. Turn back time. Here we go. I've got all these sound bites that I no longer use because we're not on Facebook. And so they would delete any of these sound bites that I would hit. I don't know, just delete the hell out of them. But it takes so long to load them in. You're like, nah, I'm just going to use the same 7 or 8. And I'll just scroll down 70 of them. It's like, God, let's go. All right, here we go. Turn back time. This is a good one just because, Sean, I'll preface this with asking you a question. Who, when you were growing up as a young child, would everyone say greatest athlete that ever lived?
When I was a child, I don't know, baseball centric house, I think Mickey Mantle was the consensus from my dad that he was the best athlete he ever saw. But Red Grange, Jim Thorpe, if you're just saying the word athlete, Red Grange and Jim Thorpe.
Ding, ding, ding. On this date in 1909, Jim Thorpe makes his pro baseball pitching debut for Rocky Mount in the ECL, wins 4-2. This will cause him to forfeit his Olympic gold medals down the road because they were very stringent back then. You could not be professional in anything. And then like the Ruskies came around in the 50s and said, whatever, dude, we're paying everybody. Yeah, suck on that. How about that? Birthdays. It's your birthday today. All right. Happy birthday, Roberto Duran, 70 years old.
Hands of stone.
Anytime someone gets up that high, I always have to double check it. Wait a minute. Is this guy still alive? What about this one? This was one of my favorite players growing up as a kid. It was only because of his nickname. Had no real reason to be a fan of him. And he played for the Hawks. So I was never a Hawks fan. But speaking of the Hawks, happy is he really 66 years old, Mr. Tree Rollins from Winter Haven, Florida. Do you remember him?
Yes, I do.
Here's another. I know you'll remember this cat. If I say left-handed hitter, California Angels, early 90s, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? First baseman.
Darren Erstad or Wally Joyner?
Wally Joyner.
There it is.
He is 59 years old today. Say it ain't so, man. Say it ain't so. And this one you have to do because I guarantee it's the one that ESPN will be on today. Happy 50th or 51st birthday, Phil Mickelson, as we head to the U.S. Open tomorrow. You got a pick for the U.S. Open, by the way?
I really, really, really want to pick Brooks because I love the whole Brooks and Bryson stuff. And Brooks was right there in the PGA and just couldn't get over the hump, couldn't make putts when he needed to. So Koepka's always kind of my go-to if I'm going to bet on a major sport in golf. So I'm going to say Brooks. Okay.
I actually went with the homer pick. I went with Phil Mickelson this morning on a Gators and Golf with Tony. If y'all missed that, it's my bad for not promoting and letting y'all know. Tony let me know very short noticed that he was unable to record on Friday morning. So we did it, which actually worked out because we're going to the College World Series, but we're also going into the US Open. So we did the show this morning. And so if you want to know a lot about golf, a lot about college baseball, I highly suggest watching Tony's show. He's really, really knowledgeable on both ends. But I went with, let me pull up to see who he picked. He picked to win. What the hell did I write down here? I don't know what I wrote down for his win, so just watch the show. I took John Rahm and Phil Mickelson as my 1-2, and Finau as my show. I don't know what the hell I wrote here. It looks like Tony Romo, but I know that's not what he picked.
I hope he didn't pick Tony Romo. I don't think he made it to the qualifier.
What's your walk-off for the day?
My walk-off is a congratulations, and I don't know if it's going to be a happy trails. He hasn't officially announced his retirement yet, but some NHL awards have been announced. The NHL kind of does them slowly throughout the week, and the King Clancy Trophy, which is basically hockey's Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and that's a fascinating trophy. I could do a King Clancy thing another time. Went to Pekka Rinne for all he's done in the community in Nashville. He's obviously been here a long time, been a great goaltender. I kind of hope he rides off into the sunset. Unfortunately, he never got that cup. We'll see if he signs somewhere or somebody keeps him around as a backup. It seems unlikely he's going to stay in Nashville, but has donated over $3 million to Hockey Fights Cancer locally in Nashville. And just by all accounts, everybody I know who's ever met him says he's a fantastic person.
I know why now it looks like Tony Romo. I was scribbling as I was talking and trying to keep eye contact. It's Tony's made the pick. It's Rory McIlroy. I was like,
Rory McIlroy.
What the hell am I doing for Tony Romo? That's my walk-off today it's National Fudge Day. So remember, kids, fudge, or no, is it milk lemonade around the corner? Fudge is made. We'll see you tomorrow.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Gonna get another